It's great to be here this morning. I want to thank all of you for having me here today. The reality is we are going through tough times. Let me just try to give you a little bit of the political background on it. Sometimes when you're in the eye of the storm, you can't tell all that's going on. So you try to step back and talk to people and find out how they look at it, and then also provide what insights I would have. One of the problems we have, and it's really a problem of democracy almost, in that you found in 2006 and 2008, the American people elected an extremely liberal Congress. They elected very liberal people committed to what they believe in 2006 and 2008, and they elected President Obama in an historic election. In 2010, they elected an extremely conservative Congress. And when they elected the conservative Congress, it's not that we defeated so many liberal Democrats, but we defeated conservative Democrats, moderate Democrats around the country. So we now have a Congress consisting of people who believe in what they're saying on both sides, who were elected in mandate elections, and they feel unable to back away from the commitments they made. And it's so I know it looks like madness from the outside, and to some extent it is, and to me it's the purpose of democracy to find compromise. But the reality is you had very hardcore people elected in the last 3 elections, all of whom made pledges not to go back on their word and saying that's what's wrong in Washington. People go to Washington and they make compromises. Well, now they're not making compromises, and you see some of the problems that we face. I believe that if there's any silver lining in the cloud of the S&P downgrading, is that it will cause people in the Congress to realize the necessity of compromise. They're coming from Nassau County, where obviously we have a strong Republican organization, and you're taught to be pragmatic. Also in Nassau County, where Republicans and Democrats, for the most part, don't hate each other. We go to events, we work together. The fact is that we have much more of a tolerance, if you will, an ability to get along. We're, I think, more involved in the communities. Now we have a lot of very ideological people in Congress from both parties, and it's showing itself. I mean, I don't remember any national crisis where the president almost became like a prime minister. He stepped to the side, and it was John Boehner, Harry Reid, and Senator Mitch McConnell, who were the 3 people who really put the deal together. And I can't think of any other, going back to Eisenhower, I mean, Kennedy, Johnson, certainly not Johnson, anywhere where you had a major crisis where the president was not in the room the entire time, was not part of it. On the other hand, on the Republican side, we definitely had, I think, a lack of willingness to think outside the box in certain cases. I think that John Boehner was trying to do that with the president, and he got undercut by people in his own party. You know, the grand design they were talking about, I don't know all the details of it, but there would have been some revenue increases there. There would have been structural changes to Medicare and Social Security, and yet that deal, because of partisans on both sides, fell apart. That's probably the type of deal that would have occurred under a Reagan and Tip O'Neill. My own belief is that we do have to, obviously, you know, it doesn't take a rocket science, we do have to reduce spending. We do have to make significant changes in entitlements. Right now, the average Medicare recipient gets twice as much back in as, gets twice as much out as they paid into it in the course of their lifetime, and every day 10,000 new people go on Medicare. So you just add that up and you realize that it's unsustainable in its current form. So entitlement changes do have to be made. They have to be structural, and they have to be long-term. Now, on one other issue, which obviously I'm involved in, that's Homeland Security, and it's especially important for Long Island because New York and Long Island are the #1 terrorist target in the country. The killing of bin Laden was a major victory. That was a significant step forward, and it really was a culmination of 9 years of effort, not just to get bin Laden, but to really go with the structure of Al-Qaeda. And today it will be very, very difficult for Al-Qaeda to launch any attack comparable to September 11th. That's a large attack from the outside. However, at the same time, as we don't have to be as concerned about a large attack coming from the outside, we have to be much more concerned about attacks coming from within the country. Janet Napolitano, the Secretary of Homeland Security, even though we're in different parties, she and I agree that in many ways the threat level now is greater than it was back in 2001 because of the fact that Al-Qaeda, realizing that they can't attack us from the outside, is now focusing within the country. They're recruiting people who are under the radar screen, who are living here legally. Just several examples. One would have been Najibullah Zazi, who in 2009 is going to attempt to blow up liquid explosives on the New York City subway system over this September 11th weekend. He was a person raised in Queens, graduate of Queens High School, had actually a hot dog stand in Lower Manhattan, no involvement with the law whatsoever, was a skilled explosive expert, trained in Afghanistan by Al-Qaeda, and it was only really by, I don't want to call it luck or a very alert CIA person, but they were wiretapping or intercepting phone conversations overseas with known terrorists, and somehow Zazi's name come up in the course of a conversation. Unfortunately, the analyst who was going through that conversation wondered why they would have mentioned this person Zazi. There was nothing incriminating said, just his name came up in passing. And he was, they tracked him down, and then we found out that he was part of a plot which would have killed many, many hundreds, if not thousands of people on the New York City subway system. So were it not for that wiretapping that was going on, were it not for an alert CIA analyst, we would have had, again, a massive slaughter 2 years ago in September. There is a real threat from within the country. There's no doubt about it. That's why I've been holding radicalization hearings in Washington, which have caused a lot of controversy, but I believe they're absolutely necessary. I'm going to continue the hearings. This is the threat that we face today, and as we approach the 10th anniversary of September 11th, we have to be more on our guard than ever. I guess the bad news for New York and Long Island is that we are the #1 target in the world. The good news is we have the best police working on it in coordination with the FBI and federal officials. But at any given moment, I can assure you, because I'm the only member of Congress who's on the Homeland Security Committee and the Intelligence Committee, so I get the briefings from both outside the country looking in and inside the country looking out. And at any given time, we're concerned about plots originating from parts of the world. We've stopped 13 plots alone against New York that we're aware of. Now that I've told you the country's going broke and we have to be constantly on our guard against being attacked, really just enjoy the rest of the summer, have a great time. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.